Welcome, everyone, to episode 32 of the Dual Boot Diaries, the weekly podcast where two longtime Windows users learn to use Linux daily. I am one of your hosts, Adam Patrick Murray.
And I'm your other host, Will Smith. We are not Linux experts yet, but each week we go through our experiences using Linux daily, and with the whole show eventually culminating in one, both, or neither of us deleting either Windows or Linux from our computer and then moving on with our lives.
Yeah. Well, that time is not here, but
No.
I got to tell you, we got big news. I think we need to celebrate.
Okay.
Because the recent Steam hardware survey numbers have released.
Yeah. Oh,
and
wow.
It shows
Yeah.
that Linux usage has surpassed 5% globally. Look at that. Oh.
Cheers.
Yeah,
Hooray.
cracking a LaCroix. Nice.
Yeah,
we did it, everyone. That's
It's
it.
cherry lime, so it's a fancy one.
Oh, that does sound fancy, actually. I mean, we should celebrate. We pack it up, go home after this. Is this where we want to be, right? Yeah.
Look, we're bigger than the Mac now.
Well, I think we were always bigger than the Mac. No,
Not always. I think in the post Steam Deck world, we've been bigger than the Mac. But yeah, look. Does this matter? I don't know. Maybe. I think every time you hit one of these milestones, it makes it easier for developers to support, to like have a dedicated Linux strategy. I think like for a long time, Valve kind of life hacked their way into people caring about making sure their games work on Proton because they would give you extra promotion if you had that Steam Deck, that little green Steam Deck badge. But now basically every indie game has the little green Steam Deck badge, and most stuff just kind of works without you having to do a whole lot of work. But yeah, this is a good thing. Congratulations. Nice job, everybody.
I mean, the bar chart, at least according to gamingonlinux.com's article about this, seems to be going up and to the right.
My understanding is that's the way you want those to go, if it's a good number.
Yeah, you want to be in a boardroom and you want the numbers to go up and to the right.
I don't know if I'm mirrored, but I think it's this way.
Yeah, I think you're mirrored.
Yeah.
This is up and to the right. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I like this seems like a cool thing. It seems like there's more than a dozen of us now, but I don't know.
For me, it was interesting because there were it was a 3% increase almost. A part of it, I think, is because Valve is calculating stuff differently than they have in the past, maybe. But also, like if we get 3% growth every quarter, that means in like 20 quarters, it's going to be the majority of the market. Like in 4 or 5 years, we'll be bigger. There will be more than dozens of us.
Yeah,
we will be the dominant force in PC gaming.
Yeah, I don't know. Or Windows maybe will turn the ship and fix all of the woes.
Windows 12 is just around the corner. It's going to make everything real good.
Right.
Did we talk about the note that Microsoft released a couple of weeks ago?
We did.
Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't remember if we talked about it here on the Full Nerd. This is the problem with doing multiple podcasts with the same people, is the conversations start to blend in with each other. But yeah, it's like, I don't know, stuff's happening. People are paying attention to the things that were annoying to us personally and to a lot of people, I think, in the audience, and maybe it's all going to work out.
Well, and we did have one Wendell from Level 1 Techs and Level 1 Linux over on the Full Nerd this week. Really good chat. You should go check it out. Talking about the ARC B70 reviews and the same Steam numbers that we're talking about here. So lots to get into. I'm hopeful. I think this is a trend, and I think it'll continue to go this way. Like, at least anecdotally, it seems like more than ever people are still getting in on the Steam or the Linux train. So
I will say I get more people sending me notes. I had somebody stop me. Where was I that somebody stopped me and was like, "Hey, I love your Linux podcast." I was out with the kiddo, and we were anyway. It doesn't matter. Oh no, it was at the flea market. Nice. Remember we met a couple of listeners. One was a TechPod listener who was a very young man who like was listening to us talk and was like, I recognize that voice. And his dad was like, yeah, I think it's that guy right there. And I thought they were listening to us talk about video games, because we were talking about video games like goofuses. And he was like, no, I love your podcast. And so, but I also met a Dual Boot Diaries listener there who was really nice. I think it was before we bumped into you down there. So
Nice.
But
Awesome.
anyway, flea market this weekend. By the way, I don't know if you're going to make the trek down this time. It's kind of long for you, but
yeah, I think I'm going to have to skip this month, but we'll see. We'll see.
Okay.
Who knows? Maybe I'll feel crazy.
What?
Like I have been over the last week.
Yeah.
Crazy diving into this old ThinkPad.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I think we have a big show today because not only have I switched to an old piece of hardware, this ThinkPad that I showed off last week.
Yep.
You have also switched to an older piece of hardware, which is
on my old Mac.
Dun, 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 dun. So yeah, for audio listeners, you're holding up what appears to be a 13-inch MacBook Pro with a bunch of stickers on it.
2015 13-inch MacBook Pro, which is I looked it up yesterday. I don't remember what it is now, but it's like a 4 series Intel processor. I think it's a quad core, 8 gigs of RAM, and a 500 gig SSD. But it's a SATA SSD, not an NVMe SSD. It's from that time.
Well, if I remember correctly, when you brought it up, you actually have a 5th gen. And I have the 4th gen. I have the 4300U. I think.
Yeah. It's a 5860 or something, 5870, I think.
I can
give me a second and I'll look it up.
Either way, you can count the number of cores on one hand, which is comical in today's day and age.
So you want to start? You want to kick off with? I think you spent more time with the ThinkPad than I have with the MacBook. Probably, if I'm counting minutes.
Yeah, so I talked about this a little bit last week, my plans and what I had gotten into. We even did a little bit of live troubleshooting. You had helped me look into transferring over my install from my normal Fedora machine to Fedora on this thing. And luckily, somebody in the YouTube chat, one Metal Linux, which is a really cool name, shared a link to a GitHub called Save Desktop. So capital S, capital D, no space, or no, there is a space, Save Desktop. And I checked it out and installed it, and it's exactly what I was wanting.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So essentially, it was easy to install, real small package. I put it on both systems. One of them I exported a little save file, and then on the ThinkPad I imported the save file, and it just worked like magic. Like the dock showed up, GNOME extensions, the color accent changed, the background, the wallpaper changed.
Did it install your apps for you too?
Yes, with an asterisk. So it did install apps, and like at first I didn't see them, and but it took a little bit of time just because the machine is so slow. But they started showing up one by one, but not all of them. So it was mostly the ones that are either in the RPM, the repository for Fedora, or Flatpaks. So I was able to have those show up, but then it wasn't all of them, and I realized those are the ones that have their own repository. Like Chrome essentially loads its own repository. Slack.
So you have to add those repositories and then probably reinstall those manually.
Yeah. Which, I mean,
that's not too bad.
I mean, really, like the application stuff was one part, but it was also all the settings and things like that. Not everything switched over. Like the resolution scaling, stayed at the default. I think it was like 125%. This is a 1080p laptop, so at 125%, it was very large, and I scaled it back down to 100%. Actually, you know what? I don't know if that's true. Maybe that ProArt was at 125%. I'll have to go back and look. But either way, I did have to go in and make some tweaks based off of this configuration versus that Asus laptop.
Did you do this on a thumb drive or something, or do you have a USB-A external hard drive you could use?
No, dog. I also loaded up Local Send. Local Send is just continues to be like magic to just be like, hey, here's what I have. Here's somebody on the network that I want to send it to, and you accept it on the other side, and just boop.
I need to live that Local Send life. That sounds pretty good.
Unfortunately, I did try this yesterday on our work internet, and Local Send will not work over our work internet.
I mean, that makes sense.
I guess. I don't know.
Look, man, you got to keep people from. You can't just share files willy-nilly in a workplace. That's ridiculous. Why would you want that?
But in local send, for those who don't remember, there's an Android app. I don't know if there's an iPhone app. It works on Windows as well. So like I have been using it to quickly just share a file that I'm like, oh, hey, I have it over on Fedora and I want to bring it over to Windows. It continues to be an awesome application for throwing stuff around.
That's cool.
So yeah, so essentially that was the first step that I wanted to try. And the next step, which I got a little feedback from the episode last week where I was like, hey, should I try to use this in the most basic configuration? Should I try to soup this up? We'll get more into that a little bit later, but I actually did open it up just to see the condition of the laptop and see what I was working with. And I pulled out the 8 gig DRAM. I think it was DDR3, I think is what it said on there.
That seems right.
Yeah, and confirmed that this has 4 gigs soldered on, and then it had one DIMM slot to put in the LP cam. Sorry, not LP.
It's SODIMM.
SODIMM, yes, thank you. And so I was like, you know what? I'm curious. What would the experience be like? Could I do this with just 4 gigs? So I popped that out, and the machine booted up fine. It was fine. But then as I started slowly using my applications, that thing just chunked.
Well, because you're paging out to the hard drive.
Yeah. So that's why I had Mission Center up, which Mission Center is like the task manager.
Probably like half your RAM. Like I have Mission Center open right now and it's like 500 megs of RAM or something. It's not a light application.
Well, the weird thing is that it was not showing me at 100% RAM utilization, but yeah, when I would look at the I/O on the disk, it was just pegged at 100%, mostly around Chrome. And I was like, okay, well maybe I have too many tabs. I think when I brought over my tab collection, it was like 12 like basic ones that I just kind of have on all devices, and so I pared it down to like 4, like the most important ones. So like my email, YouTube. And I can't remember the other 2, but I was just like, okay, well, how would 4 run? And even 4 it was still just paging out to that hard drive. And I was just like, oh my goodness, this is bad. This is hard.
4 gigs. I'm going to go ahead and tell you, in a world where a website can download 500 megabytes worth of crap the moment you connect to it, 4 gigs of RAM is not enough, dude.
Well, and even I was just like, okay, well, I'm gonna see what happens if I just have Chrome open. And a couple of, I think I had Chrome, the terminal, Mission Center, and a file browser open. And I was like, it's just sitting here hanging. I'm just going to let it sit here for like half an hour, see if I can come back and use it and just let it work stuff out. And I did come back later and it was not paging to the thing anymore. So I was like, okay, cool. I'll tab around. I'll try to use Chrome, but yeah, then immediately it just started accessing that hard drive, and I was just like, oh, this is horrible. So I'm not gonna say it can't be done. I'm sure there are distros that are lighter or other things that you can use that are lighter that you can use Linux on 4 gigs just fine. But for my use case, I was like, okay, it became quickly apparent that I was not going to be able to do this on 4 gigs. So I opened it back up, threw in that other stick of memory.
4 gigs is an amount of RAM you could use when browsers didn't have tabs. Like, remember the old days when you had one website open at a time? That was all you had open on your computer at any given moment. That's a 4 gig
I haven't thought about
computer.
that in a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. That's funny. Yeah, you would just have Netscape Navigator open and that's it.
Look, it's not secret because I'm about to say it on a podcast where people are listening. I think that browser tabs were invented by the memory manufacturers. I think that they were like, this is like, you want to talk about my, hey, is this a conspiracy theory? Is this real? Look, man,
it's already a cartel. Now you're saying it's, oh, wow.
Nobody has benefited more than RAM vendors by the addition of tabs to browsers, and now they're trying to put tabs in our text editors and our file browser. Man, big memories coming for us all. This would have been funnier a year ago. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So you put the RAM back in, I hope.
Yeah, I put the RAM back in, and then I started poking around in the system because I was Googling this exact device, and there was actually a lot of support out there, like literal videos. I'll link one down in the description. I put it in our Notion of like a Lenovo support page showing how to reinstall or replace a hard drive. It has like a little plastic cage around it, so you actually can do it toolless. Well, it's not toolless. There's one little screw that holds the cage down, but other than that, the little cage around the hard drive just clips in and
okay.
yeah, and you put it in. So I was like, oh, that's pretty cool, and was kind of looking at the layout of the internal battery, and then I found the Wi-Fi NIC. It was under one of those little flaps, the shielding flap or whatever.
Yeah.
And then right next to the Wi-Fi adapter was something that looked very oddly like a SSD slot, like a M.2 slot.
It probably was an M.2 slot. Now the question is, was it an M2 SATA or was it an M2 NVMe?
So I actually didn't find a clear answer online to this. I Googled around a lot, and it was hard to find anybody that would mention it. And if I did come across a couple mentions, it was people who were like, "Oh, hey, that's actually just another spot that you can put a Wi-Fi adapter." And I was like, "Oh, that doesn't make sense. Why would you need two Wi-Fi adapters? I mean, maybe I'm missing something here."
Could have been for cellular is the other thing, because they did have cellular modems that would connect on those. If there's antenna mounts near it, then that might indicate that. But I bet it's for an M2 SATA SSD. I have one here someplace still that I can, if you don't have one.
Well, funny enough, so I ended up buying both a very small. Oh, I should say. So
is it a short guy?
It was 2242, so the middle guy, which is the hardest, because I actually have a ton of 2230s for
handhelds.
The handhelds, and obviously a lot of 2280s, but 2242 is like, I think I have one somewhere, but I couldn't find it.
Just cut the back off of it, just hacksaw off take a long boy and
You trim it down from 256 to 128.
So they're keyed, right? They're keyed differently, isn't that the SATA ones have two notches and the NVMe ones have a one notch in a different place or something? Is that right?
I mean, it's theoretically the same place, but yeah, it has two keys, so that it should be the same key on one side, and then it just has an extra notch for the SATA. But this slot only had one notch.
Oh, so you might have an NVMe.
So I was like, oh wow, could I put it? Does this support NVMe? I thought that was
seems
too
unlikely.
Old. Yeah. So I ended up buying both, real small 2242 drives. I think both were like 128, and they weren't super expensive. They were like 20 something on Amazon each.
Oh, hey, so you doubled the price of that laptop.
Yeah, pretty much. And so I got them both in on Saturday. I was very excited to open up the Amazon package, and I tore open the back of the laptop again, tried to shove the NVMe one in, and even though the key looks really close and the slot only has one key, it didn't fit. And I was like, oh man, that really sucks. Like, it was just enough off that it wouldn't slot in. So then I was like, okay, well, maybe this is just a Wi-Fi thing. So I ripped open the SATA one and tried it again, and the SATA one didn't fit either. And then I was like, oh man, that's really annoying. But then I flipped it over, and the other key worked. So essentially, like the sizing
down?
No. So the sizing on the NVMe one on this size was just a little too small, and on the SATA side, it was a little bigger from the edge.
Oh, weird.
So the SATA one, like, keyed that way, worked, and it worked. I installed it. I loaded up the BIOS, and it showed up as a drive. I went into Fedora, it saw it. Like, I formatted it and everything, and I was just like, oh my goodness, this is crazy. I have a SATA M.2 drive in there.
So, okay, hold on. So the next step is, did you just DD your hard drive over to that SSD?
Well, so here was the other thing, because I did poll a couple 2.5-inch hard drives. We have a bunch at the office. I even found an old Optane drive that Gordon had in his stash.
Oh man!
So this is and this is an engineering sample
per
as well.
second of Fury.
So it's 80 gigs, 80 gig Optane drive, engineering sample SATA SSD, and I was like, man, I kind of want to throw this in there and see. but I didn't. I actually ended up keeping the spinning hard drive in there.
Okay.
And yeah, so I essentially moved Fedora over to the SATA drive, and holy smokes.
Different experience, huh?
Everyone talks about upgrading from a spinning platter drive to an SSD, and I remember feeling it a long time ago, but it has been a long time since I've done that upgrade on a system. Like, for the most part, I'm just all SSDs now.
I mean, I have hard drives in some computers, but I use them for like deep storage and stuff that doesn't get accessed all that often, or
like NAS.
Yeah, or big giant files or something like that. And you're kind of insulated from, like, it's different to run Windows on a spinning hard drive or an OS on a spinning hard drive, right? And so yeah, I'm amazed you lasted as long as you did.
I did try. I was like, man, could I make this happen? And yeah, it just trying to use it just with the basic necessities was not working. And actually during the full nerd, I had I still had.
Oh, so you did this last night?
I did this after you left, actually.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I was using it for the full nerd, and I installed Slack and Discord during the show and was trying to load those open, and I was just like, okay, I can't do this. This is the end of it. So man, an upgrade to an SSD is literal night and day.
Yeah.
Like boot time, it just works. I mean, it's not as snappy as the ProArt, sure, but I think part of that is also, this is only a 60 hertz screen refresh rate.
Yeah.
So, things feel a little sluggish comparatively. Opening stuff, it's still, I mean, I think you're starting to see maybe the limits of the DRAM speeds at that point. Well, it's DRAM speeds
and CPU. The CPU, like, despite having, fewer cores and lower clock speeds, like, there's also a multiplier in the amount of compute happening per clock cycle in the 8 generations between these two parts or whatever it's been.
Right,
4 big generations and 4 little generations, right? Like, so it's a substantial decrease in compute. I think, I want to say when Zen 5 stuff came out, I went through and did the math to see how much compute per cycle you were getting from like Zen 2 to Zen 5, and it was like a 16x improvement on some kinds of math. So like, depending on the workload, it can be very little, but it can also be enormous, I guess, is the thing I realized on this experience.
I mean, either way, Chrome just worked better. So like that was the basic thing. So I need more time with it to feel it. But at this point, yeah, I said, I think I'm just running into the limitations of the device itself. A lot of people, when I asked for that feedback last week, were like, oh, you know what? Try to see what you can do to soup it up and give it new life, because that's kind of what a normal person would do too. Well, and so I tried it at its worst. Now I'm trying it at its best. And like, I mean, do I want to hold on to this device long term? I mean, no, because I still have better options. But like, I think I could just use this for a month and just be like, wow, this is actually a good experience.
So it's interesting because there's a kind of hard calculus on how much money you should put into an old computer that's that old, right? Like, if you're talking about something that's like 5 to 10 years old, I think it's a little bit easier, because you like, in that realm, if you're looking at like a desktop 9900K or something like that, that's still a pretty capable 8-core CPU. It's not the most power efficient. Like, getting more RAM is probably expensive at this point, because I think they're DDR3 or are they 4? I can't remember. But like,
4,
you can put a real video card in that and have a pretty good gaming PC on a 9900K with like a 3070 or something like that, a used 3070. When you get into the older territory where you're buying like the SATA NVMe, SATA M2 SSD instead of an NVMe SSD, you're into a weird kind of nether world where like that hardware is useless outside of that machine, because you don't have anything else you can plug that into at this point, probably. And like, is it worth spending $250 to make $100 computer, or a computer that you can get a much better used PC for $200? Like what are you getting for that money? Should I go? I can talk about mine now?
I mean, real quick to wrap this up, I do want to use this now that the SSD's in there. The last thing that I was poking around on is that something that you had pointed out too is that for charging, it has that proprietary Lenovo rectangle thing, but there are people who have actually been doing USB-C mods on devices of this generation. And so I started to look into it. Like, so what you do is you get like the little USB-C, termination kind of thing. You do some soldering and then you print out a new little housing with a 3D printer. And then essentially people are able to do it. Like I have a couple links I'll share in the description of people doing that. I mean, I don't have a 3D printer. I did talk to Steve Lynn about it and he was like, print one, send me the file. Yeah. Really where it boils down to is like, I'm not good at soldering. I have no
I can solder that for you. That seems like a good way to burn your house down.
Yeah. And I was like, is it really worth it to do that? No. I mean, I have the original charger anyway. Would it be nice to be able to do USB-C? But I think at the end of the day, especially because, I'm probably not going to hold on to this long term, whatever. Like it was worth throwing, a little bit of money into the SSD thing.
Yeah.
Just for fun, just to see if that slot worked. Like I said, I could have used a 2.5-inch drive just fine, and I'm sure the performance would have been
done.
fine.
Yeah, it's going to be equivalent. It's the same bus. Like they're both SATA.
Well, once again, when I was Googling, especially for this laptop, I did not see an answer to say if that slot would actually take an SSD, so that was cool to find out. It was like magic. Like it was like finding a treasure, like a buried treasure, and be like, oh my god, what does this port do?
I was kind of surprised that the Lenovo is generally pretty good with documentation on that stuff, and I wonder if it's old enough that that they don't maintain that as much anymore, and the data fell off or something. But usually they have a pretty full spec sheet for everything you can plug into their laptops, especially that kind of, because it's the one you have is the kind of the industrial one. It's like the ThinkPad Carbon, right? Or
it's not a Carbon. It's a T440S.
Yeah.
So
a workhorse machine.
A workhorse machine for sure. I mean, other than that, like the only other thing I saw people online modding, doing physical mods, is changing the trackpad. I guess this clicky trackpad that got rid of the physical buttons at the top was like one of the first generations to do that, and they like online people had a name for it. I can't remember what they called it, but because the whole thing depresses. And I guess there's people who will mod the original design back in that has the physical buttons.
On the top and bottom.
And I'm like, either way, the trackpad is just, it's not great compared to newer standards. So
I'm glad you had fun. I think your experience with the spinning Rust to the SSD has colored your experience a little bit, because you started out real bad and all of a sudden it got pretty good.
Yeah.
I have two old Macs here that I could choose from when I was embarking on this experiment. Mm-hmm. One is like a 2011 or 2010 era MacBook Air. Mm-hmm. That has seen some heavy use. Like it was my computer for a long time, then it was my wife's computer for a long time. I plugged that in, and I had a couple of problems. One is that the battery is completely toast on it, to the point that like when I charged it all the way up, it was like 100% battery. Hell yeah. I bumped the MagSafe power cord on it, and the screen immediately turns off, and like 3 seconds later it does the da-dun Mac chime. And I was like, oh, that seems bad. So I got that going, and I was like, I don't know if my wife backed this up when she switched to her new Mac, so I got to figure out how to back it up real quick before I can do bad things to it.
That's smart.
And then I realized after about 2 hours of thinking, God, this is the slowest, crappiest computer I've ever used, it has one of the full depression trackpads. And the click under the full depression trackpad was registering like maybe 10% of the time. So what I thought, like I was moving the cursor around, that was fine, no problem. And occasionally you'd click it and it would work, but most of the time you'd click it and it would just do nothing. And I thought it was doing that because the computer was slow and busted.
You thought it was stalling.
It turns out the trackpad was bad. So so I got through all that, and then I decided that with the MagSafe thing and the computer turning off the moment it loses battery. I was like, I can't. This is unusable. I can't. And I did the math on, is it worth buying a replacement battery for this? Because they're available, and it was like $50 to get one. But I was like, I'm not putting $50. The batteries are glued into these, and I don't want to burn my house down taking it out because that's scary. And B, it's a 12. Yeah, I'll ask Luis.
Yeah, burn the office down.
Yeah, burn the office down. And B, it's a 17, 16-year-old laptop at this point. This is probably like we're through the looking glass here. Pre-Retina screen. So I got the 15-inch, the 13-inch 2015. It is an early 2015 13-inch MacBook Pro. And it was a pretty nice Mac at the time. I was doing a lot of video editing and stuff like that because I was attested still, and a fine computer. It had an SSD because Apple was shipping SSDs on everything by that point. Had been for a few years, but it's a SATA SSD. It is probably. I don't know. I didn't open it up. Who cares? It's a closed box for this purpose. But I followed. There's a lot of guides for slightly newer Intel Macs and M1 Macs, the Apple ARM Macs. Apparently, after you get past, I think, M2, you kind of can't put Linux on Macs anymore because they changed the way the security chips work. People are figuring it out, but it's in that in-between time. But this is from before. This Mac predates Secure Boot being added to the Macs. So I wasn't able to find good instructions for how to do it, but I did find a guide on the CachyOS wiki that explained how to do a clean install on a slightly newer Mac that ended up working fine.
Oh.
I thought, though, because I didn't realize that I didn't have Secure Boot, so I thought that I had to install the latest Mac OS to update the firmware so that I could disable Secure Boot so I could install Cachy, because I kept getting this Secure Boot error, this unauthorized software error when I was trying to boot the computer. And
what's the latest OS that thing could take?
Mac
Hobby,
OS, I think. Ventura, I can't remember. It was one of the. It's one of the pre-OS 11 ones, but it might be the same as that Mac Mini. It might be.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
The Blue Bubbles Mac Mini.
It was newer than I expected. Let's say.
Okay.
So anyway, I updated the Mac, and then it turns out I didn't need to do that. All I had to do was, instead of booting with the normal mode off of my Cachy installer, if I chose use Grub 2 mode on the installer, it just worked, which that was annoying. I did repartition. I shrunk my Mac partition in Mac OS before I did this, because the recommendation is to keep Mac OS on these machines in case you ever need to do anything with firmware, or if you want to go back to having Mac OS. It's much, much easier if you have an existing Mac OS partition and install than otherwise. So it's a 500 gig SSD. I shrunk the Mac OS partition 90 gigs and made Linux 420 gigs or something like that.
Which is completely fine. Yeah.
Yeah, it's totally fine. The TLDR, the install was pretty easy. I had to do some shenanigans to get Wi-Fi working. So Apple ships a custom Wi-Fi adapter that requires a custom firmware that Linux can't distribute. So the way you get that is by pulling it out of Mac. Like, you run some terminal commands in Mac OS, you save it into your boot partition, oddly, and then you pull it when you launch the live boot installer. You pull that firmware out of your boot partition into the live install, and then you do that again when you boot into the first install for the OS. The other problem I had, and I was able to fix this with Gpart-D, was that my boot partition was too small, because the boot partition was only like 500 megabytes, and Cachy now wants a 2 gigabyte boot partition. Just because if you're doing snapshots, some of the snapshots have to live in there in order to be able to continue booting different kernels. So it fills up pretty quickly if you're doing a rolling distro. So I had to resize my boot partition, move the Mac partition back a little bit, then create the ButterFS partition for Cachy, and it handled all of that without losing any data, and I can still boot into the Mac OS and all that stuff. It was pretty straightforward.
Oh, nice.
the experience I've had with this is that it turns out I use a lot of Electron apps. So I use Notion, I have Slack open, I have Discord open, I have a bunch of Signal, all these Electron apps are running all the time. The native apps on this laptop are shockingly performant and good. Like really, really, I was kind of blown away. Like I can run OBS. A lot of stuff that I wouldn't expect would work just is feel like the browser feels snappy, even with the relatively slow computer and 8 gigs of RAM. It's like it does well. Now it churns the living hell out of the SSD swap file. Like it's like the swap file is just popping all the time, left and right, 24/7. I assume that SSD is going to wear out really quickly, in the same way that a lot of Macs with 8 gigs have similar problems, right? Anytime I launch an Electron app, it just takes forever. Like it's not as bad as it was on your classic spinning hard drive, but it's still like you launch Discord and then go get a cup of coffee and come back and it's almost done. I like it is. This is when somebody says, "Hey, I just browse the web," this is the kind of computer I think about, right? Like this is probably equivalent to a relatively inexpensive Chromebook or something like that in terms of perf and how it runs and what my experience is. Like you, I had to pare back the number of tabs I have open pretty dramatically. I usually have a bunch of pin tabs with like things like my Home Assistant install and all the different tools that I use that live in the web. I don't even keep webmail open on this thing. It's so slow. The YouTube experience I had on this was pretty crappy. And to the point that like when I was watching a video on YouTube, it would 100% spike the CPU. So the CPU, when I was during Full Nerd yesterday, was pretty much living between 90 and 100% the entire time. And it turns out it's because YouTube has switched to using AV1 for most of the video delivery. So I grabbed a plugin called H264 for Firefox that basically forces YouTube to use H264 videos, which there's hardware encode support on this laptop for, or hardware decode support on this laptop for. And that was a pretty significantly better experience. But I should
try that.
It was a little up and down on what I was able to actually get. Like for example, the Full Nerd that we recorded yesterday couldn't make it be H264. Like it's always AV1.
Oh, well, because that was live.
Yeah. So pre-recorded stuff that people upload seems like it's fine. I wonder if it has to do with how people upload their videos as to like whether YouTube bothers to make an H264 version. But I don't know for sure. I'm speculating on that. But yeah, like generally speaking, pretty good experience. Like is this a computer I would have given? Like I wouldn't give this to my kid now because she's 13 and she's felt the light of good computers now, and I've ruined her forever. But
it's got Dad's old stickers on it. Ugh.
I mean, I have good stickers, man. I got a NASA sticker on there. Got a Tom Sachs sticker. It's
the wrong NASA logo though.
It's the meatball. It's the good one. What you like the worm? Look, the worm. I'm gonna go and tell you, they're both good NASA logos, Adam. But the meatball's great. Anyway, it was better than I expected. Am I going to use this in the long term? Absolutely not. I have 15 better computers here within arm's reach of me right now. But I was pleasantly surprised. Like it's like 4 hours of battery life, which is pretty good for that. I mean, that's what it reports when it's booking 90% CPU. Is it actually going to be 4 hours of battery life? I don't know.
Well, why don't we commit? Can we commit to like a month or something?
No, I'm not going to commit to it. I'll give you one more week, and I'm going to take it week at a time. Look,
man, wow! People need to roast Will in the comments. He's not willing to schlub on these still perfectly good hardware.
Look, here's the real problem: is I have to carry that and a real laptop in case I need to do actual work, and because the other thing is Notion, which I use for all of my notes. It is is the external brain unusably slow because it's an Electron app. So like when I type like 5 words, then I watch the letters fill in across the line as it goes. And I'm like, I'd be better off typing on my phone than doing this.
Can't you just run Notion in a browser tab?
It's the same problem. It's the exact same problem. It's still insanely slow.
Okay. Right.
It's because it's one of those websites that downloads like 500 megabytes of crap every time you launch it. It's yes, this is part of the problem. Could I use Obsidian or like? Are there better note taking apps? Yes, but can I get the 7 years worth of Notion data out of the Notion file and put them in a way that's usable and isn't a nightmare to find everything in? No. Am I going to do that? Because it's going to no. So yeah, I'm carrying double laptops now, and this old one is heavy as hell. And I have to carry a power brick because I can't use friggin' USB-C chargers. I have to carry the MagSafe charger everywhere, which also is heavy as hell.
It's a good MagSafe.
I loved it. Like in the old days when everybody had MacBooks and everywhere I went there were MagSafe chargers. I didn't have to carry it with me everywhere. Yeah, it was fantastic. These days, if I say, hey, do you have a MagSafe charger I can use? And they're like, oh, yeah, sure. And it's one from the new Macs that absolutely does not work on this old thing.
No, I'm sure Roman at the office has one.
Maybe. If there's if there's an old MacBook charger at the office and I don't have to schlep the one that it's in my bag back and forth, then I'll
I'm sure there is. Yeah, I'm sure there is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see.
Okay.
So yeah, that's that. I had some homework from last week that I did actually.
Okay. Like what?
I was going to do some more testing on. I'd done some stuff on last week to see if I got Hibernate working on the Framework laptop.
Mm-hmm.
I did not. Still not working.
Oh.
This might be I'm going to go post in the Level 1 Techs forum because they have pretty good threads about getting Hibernate working, and in some places that I've gone. And I posted that, hey, my battery life is draining when I don't use my laptop for 5 days in a way that I would like to not have happen. Then their solution was, just use S2 idle, which is what it's doing now, and it's not solving the problem. So I need to find some people who like Hibernate.
Real quick, could it be an AMD thing? Because that's an AMD laptop. I wonder...
It's almost certainly, actually, S2 idle is an Intel thing, so it's absolutely not S2 idle, but it is. It could be an AMD thing. The framework, I almost think I need to declare profile bankruptcy on this framework laptop at this point and like start anew, because
like rather than bringing in your profile from the desktop.
I don't want to bring the profile in from the desktop because it's got NVIDIA drivers and all sorts of. It's a mess.
Yeah. But you didn't start this one fresh either.
I started the framework. The framework I brought over from the Dell. So I this started on that Asus laptop. I transferred it from the Asus laptop to the Dell, and now it's moved over. And like that's fine. I don't think there's anything fundamentally wrong with that. But I also think that this laptop is probably better supported now, and like some of the stuff that I'm seeing on like new installs of Cache that have been a problem on the old installs don't exist on the new installs on other hardware. So, the software gets better over time.
Clean install, baby.
Yeah, got to do a clean start. I spent some time figuring out 10 megabit USB on Linux because it's kind of problematic. A lot of like video capture. So I have video capture cards on some of my Linux machines, USB devices, and they were connecting at 5 gigabits rather than instead of 10 gigabits per second.
Over Type A or C?
C.
Okay.
3.2 ports, and they're plugged into the right ports. It was a software problem. Huh. So I first learned how to check it, which is you type ls-usb-vt, or if you want to get full data on a per device basis, you can do a sudo ls-usb-vvv pipe, just 3 V's, and then pipe that to a grep-i-b5-a5 BCD USB. And that one gives you like a really nice output of all of your actual USB devices. Like it says, oh, this device is this, it's running at this speed, it's connected to this root hub, all this.
I should try that.
Really good. So I was actually running at 10 megabits out of the box, or 10 gigabits out of the box, which I was surprised by because I wasn't seeing like on the capture devices, I was seeing 4K 60 with like motion JPEG, but if I was using any of the other video formats, I was seeing like a cap at like 4K 50 or 4K 30 or something like that.
Which usually indicates that it's not using full bandwidth.
That's not using full bandwidth.
Doesn't have access to full bandwidth.
Yeah. So I did some more digging, and there are two things I realized. One is that I play games at 2560 by 1440 on my main monitor. So I was like, okay, well, let's see what happens if I turn everything down to 2560 by 1440. And surprise, surprise, then I got access to a full 24-bit 888 BGR, which was what I was looking for. So that solved the problem on the capture on the stream machine. For the console capture on my desktop, it was a little more complicated. And I found a Reddit post that actually walked me through the whole process for making it work. Which
I'll put the link in the description.
Yeah. But basically, I had to there was a kernel patch that came in February that fixed and you had to go ideally on a Mac, but I think you could also do it on a Windows machine and set the Elgato device to use a kind of backwards compatibility mode using the Mac software for this. There's also now an unofficial control utility that somebody made that's linked in that post in the update. So the TLDR is if you have this problem with an Elgato 4KX or 4KS, I think the cheaper version of the 4K USB device, then you need to make sure you're running the right version of the kernel. And then you can use this Elgato 4K-Linux tool that's linked in there to set the device to use the 4K mode without any hassle. So now I'm getting 4K 60 or 4K 120 with appropriate color specs. So,
nice. Okay.
Let's see. I got a couple more smallies. I got Cache Update, which is like their fork of the Arch update tool that gives you like, hey, here's Arch news, here's the update news, here's the stuff you need to. If you have to do a manual change to something to make it work during an update, it's okay. In this post. It's never worked for me since I switched to Neary. So this is welcome to the Neary part of the show.
Okay, the Neary minute.
Yeah. I did a little digging, and the problem was that it calls a specific version, a specific terminal to display its output in. It's a text mode app. So when you click Run Cache Update, it pops open a terminal. But on the Neary config by default, it didn't have the right terminal program installed. So there were two potential solutions. One is I could either install Xterm or whatever terminal it calls, one of the terminals it calls, or I actually installed this thing called xdg-terminal-exec, which is a kind of emerging standard to provide a generic way to access terminals without having to jump through these hoops. And suddenly it just started working, which was awesome. Love a 2-second fix.
Nice, yeah.
The nice thing is this made me revisit Micro, which is the text editor that the Markdown editor that Neary ships by default, because it also wasn't opening because the default terminal in Neary is Alacrity on the cache install, and that led me to .config/noctalia/settings.json, which lists a terminal command which was set to Xterm, which is like the generic terminal that's in most distros instead of Alacrity. So I just changed that to Alacrity, and suddenly that started working too, which was really exciting.
Nice.
And as a result of all this, I finally figured out where the application shortcuts that my launcher uses are stored. Because I like that was weird dark Linux knowledge that I hadn't had yet. They are in user/share/applications, and they're these files that end in .desktop, and each one of those is a launcher entry. So if I want to change a launcher entry, if I want to remove one or add one, I know where to put the file, which is fantastic.
Look at that.
And then the last thing is I had a really stupid mouse problem.
Like the mouse is stupid, or
no, I'm stupid.
Having it. Oh, it's your stupid thing. Okay.
Yeah. So
those are my favorite kind.
Yeah. So, I bought these mouse skates a few months ago that are glass, because they're very slippery. They're like, they're like, I mean,
and you're competitive. You need every edge.
Look, you think your mouse feels slippery with Teflon feet? Okay. Imagine your mouse ball, your trackball ball was made of glass and it was on little greased wheels.
Okay.
And
just roll.
Yeah. So I put these mouse feet on, but you see them. So these are Super Glide. This isn't sponsored or anything. These are Super Glide glass. They're aluminosilicate glass. And I got the Type S ones because they're lower friction. Because I'm a Type S kind of. I could have gotten the Type C because they came in red and white, but they're not as slippery as the black ones.
I mean, your gaming would suck.
I'm just a Type S kind of guy. Okay, so I put these on, and you'll note on the bottom of the mouse. Well, you can't see it because it's black on black on black. But on the bottom of the mouse, there's two places that here. I'll show you on one of the other ones. There's two places that the pads are. There's a big one in the top. There's a big one in the top and a little, like a half horseshoe shape in the bottom. And then there's a ring around the sensor. Mm-hmm. Now, the glass pads come with a big one on the top and a ring around the center. And then there's a circle, which lines up with the little hole for the like where your USB dongle goes, or if you have one of the the charging mouse pads, you put a special puck on there. And I was like, well, it's circular. It's the same shape as that. I should put that on. So I put it on. And then I was using the mouse the next day, and I was like, "Damn, the mouse is like this is so slippery. The mouse is just moving when I'm not even touching it now. It's just infinitesimally moving across the screen." I was like, "This is too slick. Maybe I've flown too close to the sun here. I have to go back and get some crap." So what had happened? You're not supposed to use that center one. That's just an advertising circle. You're supposed to you just look at that, I guess. You don't put it on.
Advertising circle.
Because it pushed
the circle of lies.
It pushed the horseshoe off of the surface. So it was just floating on that, and it was triggering the lift detection for the mouse on the mouse pad just a little bit to make the mouse kind of like jump back and forth just a little bit all the time. Just drift.
Wow. Ooh,
and I was like, God, this sucks. So when I booted into Windows I was like, maybe I have some setting wrong in the mouse. I need to turn the sensitivity down a little bit. I booted into Windows to look at it, and I was like, damn, it's not doing it here. What's going on? This is really weird. It's got to be a Linux problem. So I went back and did a whole deep dive into how Linux mice work and this, like, how I interact with the cursor speed and how the hardware polling works and all this. And then I took the door off because I was like, it looks like it's floating a little bit. I took the door off and it fixed it immediately. So I just popped the circle off at the bottom of the thing and I'm back to normal and everything's good again.
There you go.
So yeah,
good job.
That's it. That's what I got. Full disclosure here. We don't hide the warts. When we do something stupid, we talk about it. So Adam has a nice laugh on a Wednesday morning.
I appreciate it. I think it's hilarious.
Look,
will others?
Look, we all learn. If we're not here to talk about the stupid things that we do, and on the plus side, I learned a lot about how to disable like mouse acceleration and smart clicking and all that stuff in Linux, which is, I guess, that seems useful. Is it homework time?
Yeah, let's call it homework time. So, excuse me. I didn't get around to trying out any games. I was having
Wait, you were
an
going to
issue.
try games on the laptop? On the Garbo computer?
I'm curious. I got mixed reports. Some people were like, oh, yeah, it'll be fine with real low-end stuff. Some people were like, oh, actually, the support for that IGP is it doesn't have something that that Proton needs to translate. Like, so maybe if it's a native game, maybe I'll finally get around to playing
Tux Racer, baby.
Yeah. So I'm just curious, just as a professional curiosity.
Just asking questions. Yeah.
Yeah. Can this actually game? Yeah. But then also I do want to clean it. Now that I've got it to a spot where just physically clean it. It's not horribly dirty.
It's not as bad as a lot of the computers I've seen.
Yeah, believe me, it's not. But it's enough where I'm like, okay, if I'm going to use this for a good month because I'm willing to take a challenge.
Yeah. No, you never backed away from anything.
Yeah. Then I probably want to clean it up a little bit. So yeah, that's it for the old laptop. I do think there is an opportunity to try this on maybe a laptop that's a little newer. I remember Wendell was talking about how, it was a couple more generations into Intel's CPU plans that they really took care of thin and light devices, or kept, really designed it for thin and light devices. So I'm going to try to poke around and see if I have any devices that are a little newer than this one.
Yeah, he specifically said, I think 7th and 8th generation suddenly get good.
Which is right at the cutoff of, can this install Windows 11? Mm-hmm. So I'm curious to see, what's the limitation of this device. I don't know. This has been real fun to just like open my eyes to certain things, like not just hardware, but also how Linux works with things as well. Like, so I'm curious to experiment around with it a little bit more.
Well, the next step is going to be to put Windows 11 on there. Get one of those Windows distros and put it on there. Just see what it feels like.
I ain't doing that. Come on.
I think I feel like, so I have it's one of the first gen Razer blades, I think, not their MacBook Air cheese wedge one, but the MacBook Pro style one. Mm-hmm. It's got like a 1060 mobile in it. I don't remember what CPU it has, but it was a fast gaming. It was the first small gaming laptop that I ever saw. Right, it was the first one that didn't look like, didn't look like you needed to get a special bag to carry it around in.
Right.
Now, it was, in a lot of ways, it was not a great computer because the battery life was like 45 minutes, and anytime that it used the discrete GPU, it sounded like 3 jet engines right above your fingers. But like, that's a potential if you want to borrow. Like, I'd be happy to bring that in if you want to take that for a test spin.
Maybe.
And so it has an external drive cage, so you can put a real GPU on it even if you want. I think it has to be a 2-slot because it's before we had 3-slot GPUs. But that's a possibility. You can put a 980 in there, get something really nice.
And we have one.
Yeah, I know.
The other thing I want to experiment around with is that when we talked to Wendell yesterday on the Full Nerd, he was, in relation to his B70 review, he had brought up the fact that Intel allows for, what is that called? Where like you can have a VM that accesses the same GPU as the host machine.
SRIOV? SRIOV is it? Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, he said that those Pro cards give you access to being able to run a VM and use the same resources. And I got to thinking, I've been looking at a long distance from now, been looking at having my work machine, some sort of work machine here that maybe I can futz around with. This is like the last bastion of, I really don't want to mess with this too much. Like, I need to have it rock solid. And so for the GPU stuff, like maybe that works. Maybe I can have an Arc Pro card in there that will use the GPU on the VM as well. And I don't need to have to worry about a dual GPU setup or, something weird and hinky. Because right now on my laptop, I mean, it's the other laptop, the ProArt, like I'm using the iGP for Fedora, and then it never has access to the discrete GPU in there. That's the discrete GPU in there is only used when I fire up the VM, which is kind of it's a waste. I don't think anybody would actually do that in the real world. I mean, maybe correct me if there's somebody out there who does do that, but like I think that would just be kind of a waste. So yeah, being able to do that on a desktop might be cool. Might be something to poke around. So I need to reach out to Intel, see if I can get a Pro card in. I don't think it's just the B70. I think he had just brought it up in relation to it, but maybe
I think it's only their Pro cards. So I don't know if it's
I think it's only the Pro cards, which I have
doing that on consumer stuff.
Yeah. So like, and I mean, it theoretically has enough horsepower to do the editing that I'm doing. Like right now, I have a 5070 Ti in there for editing, and even that is, I mean, it's treating me well. So I could probably swap it out, maybe step down a little bit on that stuff. So
I've been pretty impressed with the AMD card for OBS on the Stream Machine. It's been really rock solid. Like I'm doing the enhanced broadcasting thing. So I guess what I'm saying is there's a life without NVIDIA on the Linux side if you want to go that way. And Wendell said that the B70 Linux support was really
top notch.
Yeah, first. Like it was clearly a priority for them. So cool.
Yeah, I mean, and once again, like assuming I'm gonna have to have a VM open for a lot of the work I do on the desktop. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Something to mess around with, or at least try to mess around with.
Let's see. So I've got I kicked the Nobara futzing laptop down the can down the road a little bit. I did update cache on that Dell, and the camera still doesn't work because I think probably because of stuff that I did to it in trying to get it to work before. I want to spend some time with Save Desktop and Local Send, because if I could migrating stuff over with that would make these experiments a lot easier. A lot of the time of getting the MacBook up and running was actually like syncing all my Neary stuff over and getting my apps installed and getting everything signed back in and getting 1Password working and all. And like, it just takes a lot of time. I spent 4 or 5 hours on it, I think.
I will say I only used it in the way that I talked about earlier, where I saved that file and then transferred it over. It did seem to appear to have a syncing option as well.
Oh,
like if you had the application open or it syncs to the cloud or some configuration thing. I didn't look into it. It's not how I was going to use it, but
that's cool.
Like, so maybe it's something we'll look into. But I'm really glad that Metal Linux, whatever their username was, like recommended that, because it still surprised me that there's just no easy tool for that kind of stuff. So.
Well, the last time I did it, I generated the list with Paru of all the software I'd installed, reinstalled all the software, and then copied a profile directory over, and then renamed the profile directories from a shell, from a text shell. And that worked fine, but like it is fraught with peril. If you mess up which copying the folder into the wrong root, you end up with like weird nested home directories and all sorts of bad stuff. Okay, so my homework, Nobara futzing laptop, I'm going to give that another try. I want to spend. So I love Cache. I'm a big fan. We all know that. I want to spend some time with some of the other Arch flavors that are less rolling, like Endeavor and Manjaro. Give them a little taster.
Wow. Okay.
Because here's the thing. I don't mind. I actually like the rolling distro on my desktop and the computers that I use constantly and are like computers that I engage with. But I'm looking over here at the Stream Machine next to me, and at the end of a long stream, the last thing I want to do is run Cache update and have to update the OS every night. And I think having something a little more stable, not stable, stable's not the right word, because I haven't actually had any stability problems at all, but like something I don't have to update every week or every day or every month even would be kind of nice. And I think I can get that with Manjaro or Endeavor. And I also dug a little bit into their OBS situations, and they seem to be pretty straightforward. So that's maybe not for next week, but that's on the horizon, is to look at some of the other Arch-based distros.
Yeah, this seems like really good research into potentially having a fork and a new distro.
Don't say things. Nope.
That you could set up. I think it's really good that you're experimenting, and seeing if you want that distro to be rolling or not, or what
hate
works.
You.
So.
Wendell said I should do that on Fedora. He said it was easier on Fedora than anything else. Okay, so. And then the last thing is I grabbed one of those.
Actually, real quick. If you theoretically got that streaming machine to a spot that was stable, like
it is stable.
Okay. Into a usable spot, like could you do that now that you understand what you have and what you need on there, could you replicate that on any?
I do the thing where I'd extract the packages I've installed and then just like the question is there a packaged version? So the thing that fundamentally I think a lot of Linux people, especially the kind of people who are packaging like OBS for their distros, right, is there are bits and pieces of OBS that are a real pain in the butt to keep synchronized and working with other projects. Like the VLC plugin and the browser source plugin are both kind of a hassle, is my understanding, to the point that like OBS's Flatpak doesn't include the VLC plugin, and like Ubuntu's copy of OBS in their official repos doesn't include the browser source plugin. Like they don't ship them. But like browser source is how every Twitch streamer puts the notifications for like bits and cheers and subscriptions on their streams. So without that, those people don't make money, right? Like you have to have that stuff. Like we use browser source when we do the Full Nerd remotely, using Video Ninja, right? Without that, we have no video feeds coming in. That browser source is how we make that work. So like the reason I ended up going with Cache on that machine right now is because they package a version of OBS with the browser source included, and they let you install the VLC plugin separately if you want that, and they keep it all in sync for you. So if Endeavor or Manjaro do the same thing, then yeah, it's a total viable candidate for that. I didn't actually look at Fedora because I like, of all of the package managers, Fedora is the one that I've used the absolute least. The only time I've really touched it is through Bazite, where you don't engage with the package manager at all. So like I'm pretty comfortable with the apt-get stuff that the Debian-based distros like Ubuntu use, and I'm very comfortable with the Pacman and Paru and the AUR that the Arch stuff is using at this point. So yeah, I'm kind of starting with the stuff that I know, I guess, is the okay. TLDR. Well,
because I was just thinking, like, to be a true appliance kind of thing, like, what kind of updates do you really need to get? You know, like it definitely doesn't need to be a rolling distro, like, and you're not changing out hardware that often.
Well, like, but you do want, like, you don't want an ancient version of OBS, right? So like Ubuntu is a good example of this. Ubuntu shipped, I think OBS is on like 32 point something now, and Ubuntu shipped 30. The current LTS version of Ubuntu was two full versions of OBS behind, and you could have added a repo that would pull it in from someplace else, or you could have compiled it yourself. But like, that's completely counter to the ethos of this thing. So yeah, I think like the thing a lot of people like, we originally started talking about this because we were joking, but the thing a lot of people have talked about is doing like a package list or Arch has a specific thing. I can't remember what it's called, but it's basically like, hey, to recreate this machine, here's the list of packages you need to install, and then here's the stuff that you do to your config folder. And it's basically like scripting. It's like a scripted install almost, right? So it gives you a way to pull down. And I think this is how, could be wrong, but I kind of assume that this is how like Cache has support for 10 different window managers, right? Is that they have like you're basically you're getting a bundle of all the things you need to make Neri work, or XFCE or Hyperland or whatever it happens to be. So anyway, so yeah, I'm going to continue exploring other Arch-based distros for my stream machine is the main thing, but also for other things, maybe like a living room PC is a good example of a thing that like I don't necessarily have to have a full version of Cache on. Oh, sorry. So then,
well, but once again, maybe that's a better Nobara kind of.
That might be a Nobara thing. Yeah. The next one is I brought home that Strix Halo, one of those Strix Halo laptops to install clean Linux on, because I've been doing some OpenClaw stuff. We talked about this with Wendell a little bit, but I've been having enough conversations with people who I know are smarter than me, who are like, hey, if you actually use this stuff the right way, it can be incredibly useful. And then the examples that they gave were good. And OpenClaw is the trendy way to do that right now. I think I'm starting there because I think there's an interesting like there's a PCWorld video aspect that we could do where we sit down and talk about what this is and why you might want to use it and how you can like I'm not at all interested in using that stuff in the cloud, but I also have a lot of hardware around, and if I can run that stuff locally, then I'm maybe a little more interested in putting my information into it. And as Wendell said on the Full Nerd, if you have, like, I have a big corpus of things that are important to me stored in my Notion. Like it's a 3 gigs of text basically at this point. I mean, there's pictures and other stuff, but it's mostly text. And if I can use that to help me, work on a project that I need or something like that, then I can do it on local compute and not have to send all of my proprietary data up to somebody else's cloud, I'm a little more interested in it. The other thing that's happened is that there are people training models that are not based on the entirety of the web. It's like stolen data from the entirety of the web, and you can do more interesting things as a result of that don't feel as icky to me. So anyway, nice. And plus I feel like we have to understand that stuff, or we're not really doing our jobs as people who talk about technology, even if I think it's maybe questionable.
I know I feel horribly behind on that stuff too, but yeah.
So
Nice.
yeah,
Okay.
I brought the Strix because it's a 96 gig RAM laptop, and I can run a couple of models on it, and we'll see how it goes. So I'll report back, and probably that might again be a not next week thing, but that might be an upcoming few weeks
long-term project.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Sweet. Well, let's wrap it up. Check back next week for your fix of Linux talk here on Dual Boot Diaries. If you want to look at our pretty faces while we talk about Linux stuff, then go over to the Full Nerd Network on YouTube. That is youtube.com/@thefullnerdnetwork. No spaces or underscores or anything. And you can get this podcast in the video form. We also have video now being sent to Spotify as well. I mean, you can choose between video and audio on Spotify. But if you just want to listen to us in your ear holes, that's okay. No offense taken at all. And you can download the audio version of this podcast anywhere that RSS feeds point to. We should be there. And if we're not there, please let us know, because we will try to get on there.
And like if you have feedback or questions, please post them in the Discord or in the comments. We would love to hear things you'd like to know more about, things you'd like to hear less about. Like that stuff is always really helpful, and we really appreciate it.
Yeah, so we do have an awesome Discord community. Link down in the description. Go over there. We have a thriving Linux channel. We have a forum full of people asking specific Linux troubleshooting questions. We have a questions channel in there called DBD-questions. Please only questions in there. And those are the questions we use to read here on the show. I think we should be getting close to maybe another Q&A episode. So yeah, get your questions in, get a little vibe check, a little temperature check about where we are with things. And yeah, while you're over there, the Full Nerd Network also contains a couple other podcasts. We have the Full Nerd podcast. We mentioned Wendell was on this week. We talk about PC hardware news over there. And also I have a podcast with one Russ from Retro Game Core called Expedition Handheld, where we go on a journey talking about handheld gaming devices. And man, do I have some bangers this week. I'm very excited to chat with Russ tomorrow, because we got a lot to talk about, so that'll be fun. Check out the Brad and Will Made a Tech Pod. Brad is out. This is not PCWorld Brad. This is Brad Shoemaker.
Yeah, the first Brad in my life.
He's out, and you've had some guests so far. You've had Norm Chan from Tested on to talk about 3D printing. I found that episode really awesome. So, as somebody who has never really dabbled into it, I've been looking at the sidelines, and it really feels like I'm close to jumping in.
Norm had a 3D printer in his garage that he wasn't using, and was like, "Hey, do you want to borrow this for a while?" And I was like, "Yes."
Oh,
so
is it a Bamboo?
It is a Bamboo P2S.
Cool. Okay.
I was printing. I printed a couple of things so far. I just put on the list for homework for next week to talk about 3D printing hardware, software, like the software used for slicing and all that stuff, because I have just barely started dipping my toes into that. And have some real thoughts about that.
I can imagine that the Venn diagram of people who 3D print and use Linux is pretty overlapped, or no?
I will say I was pleasantly surprised. So Orca Slicer is one of the things we talked about with Norm. It's an open source slicer. So, God. Okay, so for folks who don't know, when you make a 3D print, you have to run it through. You have to run the model through a thing that slices it up into a series of 2D planes that control how the printer actually spits out the plastic onto the item. And Orca is really well supported in Linux. I installed a Flatpak that had me up and printing in like 5 minutes. The Bamboo official software that they're a little bit more closed than a lot of the printer companies are. But they their software runs on Linux natively. I was able to grab a Flatpak of that and it worked immediately, connects to it, uses all their weird cloud stuff if you want, doesn't if you want, which I liked.
Great.
I was pretty pleasantly surprised by how easy To give context, this is I think in the pre-tariff days, this was a $500 printer or $600 printer. Now it's I think an $800 printer. It is so much easier and so much better than the $5,000 printers that we were using at Tested 12 years ago. It is absolutely remarkable how both the software is easier and better. I think the software is maybe GPU accelerated. It slices so freaking fast now.
Wow.
Yeah, it's wild.
Okay.
Good stuff's good. Technology continues to improve.
Yeah, that's
I
fun.
printed here. Hold on, I'll show you. I printed. This is
it a boat?
Yeah, it's a test boat. So it has you can see it has overhangs and stuff like this.
Okay.
So you can see how your print stuff is going.
Oh.
It has holes. It has open spots. It has a tube. It's I can't remember what it's called, but it's one of the first things they tell you to print to see how your if your stuff is calibrated right, if the auto calibration routines and all that stuff ran right. So, yeah.
So it really is a test boat.
It is a test boat. Yeah.
Okay. And you know what we always say here is always be testing.
It's what we've always said here at PCWorld. Yeah. Always be testing.
Boat. Anyway, let's wrap it up here. Thanks everybody for watching or listening. Thank you, Will, for hanging out.
Always a pleasure, man. This is fun.
Once again, I'm gonna challenge you to use that MacBook.
I am gonna use that MacBook when we're sitting on the table at the Full Nerd.
Okay.
Committed.
All right. Great. Love it. Thanks everybody. We'll catch you next time. Bye.
Bye.